The University of Minnesota model for internationalizing teaching and learning is conceptualized as the integration of pedagogy and course content toward the achievement of intercultural, international, and global learning outcomes. This primer will address the imperative for global learning at the University of Minnesota and the broad initiative of internationalizing the curriculum and system campuses. More specifically, the primer will frame the relationship between these efforts and teaching and learning. I'm Mary Catherine O'Brien, an Assistant Education Specialist with the Global Programs and Strategy Alliance. It is my pleasure to work with faculty on all 5 University of Minnesota campuses toward the internationalization of on-campus courses and degree programs. The University of Minnesota's strategic positioning goal related to excellence in education is to recruit, educate, challenge, and graduate outstanding students who become highly motivated, lifelong learners, leaders, and global citizens. When we look at this goal, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. What is a global citizen? What competencies does a global citizen need? What are the skills, knowledge, and attitudes necessary for our students to become these global citizens? What skills, knowledge, and attitudes do we, the faculty and staff, need in order to develop learning experiences for our students to become global citizens? The university does not provide us with details about how to answer these questions. Therefore, we must lead by example and attempt to create meaning for ourselves. Many times when we think about how we structure academic learning from an internationalized perspective, we think of student mobility. That is, students from the University of Minnesota studying abroad, or students from abroad coming into the university as international students. But as we see from this particular diagram, student mobility is only part of the picture. If we want to serve all students, we want to think about the whole student body and then ask the question, what educational experiences are we providing so that all students eventually have exposure to international, global, and intercultural learning outcomes? In what ways do we define and promote global competency among each other and among our students? Here at the university, we truly believe that a variety of learning experiences can increase our students' global competencies, whether they are on study abroad programs, in our on-campus classrooms, in our classes via technology, in our resident halls and student organizations, or even through internships or service learning in the local communities where our campuses are located. The conceptual framework for the University of Minnesota's efforts to internationalize the curriculum is composed of 3 interrelated components. The first is that as faculty and staff of the University of Minnesota, we will actively engage in reflection on our own internationalized academic self. That is, again, looking at ourselves first as teachers before we determine how and what we want our students to learn. Second, we are committed to exploring how our disciplines are affected by globalization and internationalization. And finally, we will turn to the curriculum and think about how we are creating pedagogy that promotes student learning and development so that our students are attaining the global and intercultural competencies necessary for the 21st century. Over the past several years, as we have been working to internationalize the curriculum and campus across the University of Minnesota system, we asked colleagues from all 5 campuses, what do you think global competency means? We took those responses and developed a working definition of global competency for the University of Minnesota. Our collective definition for global competency is that our students, staff, and faculty will demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and perspectives necessary to understand the world and work effectively to improve it. You will notice staff and faculty are included in this definition. You will soon receive a magnet with the definition so that you can place it prominently in your office. In thinking about this definition, consider your own discipline. What are your discipline's core competencies? What are the skills that your discipline expects a student to develop? What knowledge do you expect your students to gain from your discipline? What types of attitudes, values, and beliefs should a student who graduates from your program have? What are the international dimensions of your discipline? How do the international dimensions of your discipline affect the discipline's core competencies? The last question, we believe, is the starting point for the internationalizing teaching and learning faculty cohort program. What skills, knowledge, and attitudes do we, the faculty and staff, need to develop learning experiences for our students to become global citizens? By participating in the ITL program, we believe that you are engaging in your own professional development in order to ultimately serve your students. This conceptual grounding significantly informs the University of Minnesota's innovative model for internationalizing teaching and learning. There are three essential elements to ITL, some of which overlap with the broader approach to internationalizing the curriculum and campus that I have just detailed. Again, we begin with Sanderson's concept of the internationalization of the academic self. Within our model, we envision that we as teachers need to look at ourselves first and ask ourselves the hard questions. What is our role as a teacher? What cultural backgrounds and biases do we bring to the classroom? What cultural and intercultural experiences have shaped our worldviews, and how do these factors interface with how we teach and what we teach? After we reflect upon ourselves as teachers, we can then think about how our students are learning. In the ITL program, we will be exploring with you the teaching and learning strategies for internationalizing your courses and the strategies that engage you and your students. Finally, content is very important when it comes to the curriculum. We will specifically focus on the content of your discipline, of your course, and the broader context of the University of Minnesota's educational goals for all students as we work with you to redesign or design your course. Instead of simply focusing on the curriculum as an object, that thing out there that we are going to internationalize, we are instead focusing on the relationship between teaching and learning by bringing the teacher into the model as a critical agent of change in the classroom and the student into the role of an active learner. We have been using the words international, global, and intercultural frequently throughout this primer, and we will continue to do so during the ITL program. Global emphasizes the interconnectedness of people and issues in the global community and new forms of collaboration and partnership beyond national identity. When political boundaries and national identity and culture are of the essence, we use the word international. Intercultural is what happens when people from different cultures interact. It assumes a negotiation of meaning across difference. You will sometimes hear the terms cross-cultural and multicultural as well. Cross-cultural compares two or more cultures. Multicultural is most often used to refer to domestic diversity, racial, ethnic, or religious diversity in particular. For the purposes of this program, we use the term intercultural. These dimensions of an internationalized curriculum are reflected in the diagram you see on the screen. You may be focusing on one or more of these components in your own curriculum, and each component may have a different weight. There is no one ideal balance between the three dimensions. You and your colleagues determine that balance. Our message to you, however, is that each dimension matters, and we look forward to working with you as you add the global, international, and intercultural dimensions to your teaching and to your courses. You will want to keep these three dimensions in mind as you consider the learning goals, objectives, and outcomes for your course. These ideas and concepts will be reinforced as you move through the remaining modules on the Moodle site. Internationalizing your course is an ongoing, iterative process that takes place as a result of your efforts with the support of a growing community of practice. We look forward to meeting you soon and working with you as you transform your course.